This is the Bethune-Cookman University Wildcat News Feed on Sirius XM, Radio Channel 142. HBCU, broadcasting from the Wildcat Lab in Daytona Beach, Florida. WELE 1380, The Cat. It's time to hear the good news from BCU.
Good afternoon and welcome to the BCU Wildcat News Feed, also known as #Talk Tuesday, the place where we get the real, raw, and relevant facts about what's going down on the campus of Bethune-Cookman University and HBCUs all around the world. I am your host, Fran Sean Reed Barnes, and you are listening to WELE 1380 The Cat. One of the first things that come to mind when we think of an HBCU is the culture. And most people would say at the top of that list is Greek life. Sadly, there are so many misconceptions about Greek life and what it means to be a member and/or how to appropriately share your interests. Here to share their experiences with us, along with the do's and don'ts of Greek life, is Miss Jocelyn Thomas, member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here. Yes, I am Jocelyn Thomas. I'm a spring 2012 initiate of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I actually pledged at the University of South Carolina, where the chapter is Iota Chi.
Wonderful. Next in the studio, we have with us Mr. Edward Tucker, member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Welcome.
Thank you, Lady Barnes. I appreciate the invitation. I am a spring 2016 initiate of the Delta Beta chapter, which is Bethune-Cookman University of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Wonderful. And last but not least, we have Miss Jennifer Agite, member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Fran. And yes, I am a spring 2013 initiate of the Gamma Tau chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at Bethune-Cookman University.
Wonderful. Well, I know our audience is ready for us to jump right in and answer some of their burning questions. I'm sure they don't even know who to ask. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we begin, can two of you all share why you decided to join your sorority or fraternity? I'll start with you, Edward.
Okay, I decided to join the best fraternity in the world because, number one, because of the influence that members of Alpha Phi Alpha had on me back home. As far as church, I earned a scholarship in church on the deacon board. The head of the deacon board was Alpha. He didn't play with me. As far as education, deciding to take steps in higher education, and I'm coming from a city that, I didn't have a whole lot of money. It was an Alpha that stepped in from the Palm Beach County Alumni Chapter and provided me a scholarship. And my first job when I was 12, it was an Alpha. So, I looked at all of these things and see how these men were touching the lives of youth, me being one of those youth. And I wanted to, continue that. I took great pride in them.
Wonderful. What about you, Jocelyn?
I chose to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta mostly because I was influenced by the chapter on campus. I didn't grow up with any Greeks in my family, so I wasn't privileged to be influenced by Greek life. However, when I did get to college, the first people that I saw were the ladies of Iota Chi. They were dressed in their bold red shirts, and they were handing out materials for freshmen who were about to experience college for the first time. And I said I wanted to be involved and I wanted to be like them. So throughout the semester, I saw how much programming they had. They were civically involved. They were involved on campus with the students. They had a voice in student government. They were leaders. They were presidents all over campus. And I wanted to be that person. So that's the reason why I chose to pledge Delta.
Now, I'm sure this goes without saying, and listening to you all has really prompted me to ask this question before we get into our list. What are some of the wrong reasons to want to join as a sorority or a fraternity? Because you guys had really great reasons, but there are some very trivial reasons that people want to get involved and then they find themselves in the wrong organization.
I'll say you can't just want to join an organization just because you want to feel like you belong. I think one of the main reasons, or the wrong reasons people want to join organizations is because they feel the need to be a part of something, so some light can be shone on them, so they can have a reputation. And joining an organization has to be, there has to be a reason that is deeper than just what is superficial. is there something that has, or somebody that has influenced you in a good way to want to join. You can't just join an organization just because you want to be popular or for letters or colors, because when you're joining those organizations, they require things from you, like your time and your talent and your money as well. You have to be involved, and there are things that you need to want to get from your experience in those organizations, because it's a two-way street. So I think one of the major or the main reasons why people join that is not a right reason is maybe for popularity.
Thank you for that. Now let's jump into this list of do's and don'ts. And if you're listening, please pull out your iPad, your notepad, or your paper pad and take notes. The number one do is show interest respectfully. Can someone talk to us a little bit about that?
Do not go up to anybody saying, I want to be in your organization. Even if it's at a approach where I want to join your organization just because I like you. You know, it's steps. You have to do your research. Being discreet is number one. And looking out for your self-interest as someone who's interested in the self-interest of the organization.
Wonderful. Now, in terms of showing interest respectfully, can you go up to someone you've had a relationship with at that HBCU before you started attending, maybe like an aunt or a cousin or something like that?
I would recommend that be the first person you talk to.
Okay, wonderful. Second do attend programs, events, fundraisers for the organization you are interested in.
That's really important because as a member of the organization, we want to see you come into the events. One, it shows interest, but some people just come to events to show face. Mm-hmm. So when you go to the events, it's also important for you to participate, because members of those organizations, they pay attention to whether or not you participate in the events. That's the only way for them to understand your mind. How does this person reason? Because you can just look at somebody and think, okay, you look like you could be a part of our organization, but we want to be able to know if we really share the same interests. And if you attend these events and participate, that is one way for you to make an impact, because not only did you attend, but you also participated. From my experience, I have noticed a lot of young ladies will come to our events, but they will not participate. And the conversation was always, well, we don't know where your mind is as far as this topic is concerned. So we need to have a conversation. So I think it's really important for people that are interested to not only attend events, to show themselves. So, you know, you can make connections and network, but you also want to be able to participate and speak your mind. So we know if, you know, we agree on certain things, and we know for sure we don't have to think or doubt whether or not you share the same interests as the organization.
Now, speaking of do's and don'ts in attending programs, events, and fundraisers, is it okay to attend events of other organizations?
I would say it is, before you find out who exactly it is you want to join. Okay. Because that's part of doing your research. Besides looking up their information online or speaking to family members that are part of the organizations or friends or people that you know, I do believe, especially if it's on campus, it is first a campus event before it is something that has to do with a specific organization. Mm-hmm. So I think it's okay before you make your decision to go to different events from different organizations.
Final question about programs, events, and fundraisers. Are there certain do's and don'ts at these programs? Like, should you wear the organization's colors since you're attending their program, or should you not? Like, what are things you definitely should not do when you go to an organization's event?
Don't do that.
Yeah, let's not.
Don't wear the colors. Just
okay.
Yeah.
So do not wear colors, probably of any organization. Is that fair when you attend a certain organization's event, just out of respect for that organization?
I think so.
Fair?
'Cause I think everybody can associate specific colors with specific orgs. So if you go out of your way to wear a red dress at a Delta event, but you're not a Delta, it's kind of like, okay.
It's deemed as disrespectful.
In a sense, yes.
Okay, absolutely. Don't be interested based on superficial reasons.
I was going to say with that, I think on the same lines of the colors that are associated with different orgs, I think there's also a stigma of what these orgs are supposed to be bringing in, the type of people, the type of look. So I've from personal experiences growing up, I'm not growing up, but attending USC, I've seen girls who are, okay, well, you know, I have a very personable personality. I like people. Everybody's this, so I should be associated with this org. Or I look a certain way. My hair is a certain way. I should be associated with this org. And that's not even based on your character. That's based on what you think other people feel about you and stuff like that. So definitely, if you're looking to join an org because of what you look like and, you know, just your personality and not necessarily your character, then that's a big don't.
Next on the list, we have do be mindful of your character. Edward, I think this was yours that you submitted to me. I'm not sure, but I thought it was really, really awesome. So can you lead us in the conversation about being mindful of your character?
Okay, well, when it comes down to the selection process and not being a member of an organization, it's very, very important to mind your character, especially after you express interest, because literally you have eyes on you all the time. Because in the organization we talk. If you, depending on who you talk to, it's real easy for somebody to get in the group me or at a chapter meeting and say this person is interested, and you're gonna have somebody from in the back of the room saying, I seen her at so and so, I seen him over here doing this, and I don't think, you know, it's a right match. So just as far as your character towards individuals in the organization, that's important. But your overall way of how you hold yourself on and off campus is important.
Now, in the age of social media, I think some students think certain things are okay to post when they're not necessarily okay to post, just being a young professional. So can you all talk to us a little bit about certain things people should probably steer away from in posting on social media that might hurt their chances of being inducted into a certain organization?
I was going to say, for me, I think it's just interesting and kind of funny when I see people post about the bruhs or the reds that aren't Greek, not even necessarily deltas or omegas. So I feel like those nicknames and like the certain things that you know good and well, you probably didn't find this off of Wikipedia. You probably heard it from, you know, so-and-so who was with so-and-so. So things like that, I think those should be exclusive to just the organizations, like those respective, like, you know, nicknames and things that you associate with Greeks on.
Great. Don't throw up another organization sign whether you are Greek or not. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but so we'll just move on from that one unless anyone wanted to say anything.
Well, I can touch up on that because when I was in college, I was an orientation leader. And we had a lot of high schoolers coming to college, and they were in Delta gyms and 20 Pearls and MOT, and those are the auxiliary junior programs to our organizations. And if the Deltas hit the stage, you got the Delta gyms holding up their mini pyramids, and it was a lot of occasions I was like, you know, don't do that, because it's, you know, it's a whole nother scale. You're actually here, and not to say that doesn't matter anymore, but you have to protect yourself. So that's something that I thought about with this question.
Very smart. Now, I want to come in and ask a question. Just because you were a Delta Gym or in 20 Pearls, do you have to, is there pressure to pledge that specific organization when you're on campus, or should a student feel that pressure to continue along with that organization?
I don't think so at all.
Okay.
Based off my own experiences, the ladies that I've grown up with who are now who are Greek, who are in Delta Gym, some didn't choose to become Deltas. I mean, I have friends who have, you know, their moms are AKAs or their dads are Omegas and they're Kappas and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think it's just based off of you. A lot of people were placed into Delta Gyms or MOT or 20 Pros because of their parents.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that was their decision to do, I'm sure they're paying for it. So. And it's not just exposing you to that Greek organization, but it's exposing you to kind of being more cultured and being, you know, learning etiquette skills and just those necessary skills to proceed in life and things like that.
Great. Next, do brush up on your time management skills. You will need to learn to balance the many things life and school will throw at you.
Yes, that's definitely something that's really important because when you're, especially if you're on campus, you have your schedule that you have to deal with. And if you're involved in other organizations, you want to remember what your main goal was when you first came to came to college. So you're technically there to get your degree, but in the meantime, it's also good for you to be involved because you're going to gain some skills that you can take into the real world once you graduate. So when you join organizations, and it's not just Greek, but when you join organizations, your time is going to be required. There's always an event that you have to host. You're going to be part of certain committees and things of that nature. So besides your time that you allocate to studying, you're going to have to allocate time to serve that organization. And if before that your time management skills are not up to par, that's something that you definitely have to work on.
Wonderful. Don't attend official interest meetings if you are still unsure of what you want to do. Anyone want to say anything about that?
I would say that is a don't, but that's just my personal opinion. As far as other events, you know, to find interest in the organization and kind of see what they're about, they have opportunities to do that. But majority of people who go to interest meeting go there with the intent of being picked for the selection process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some would argue that that's debatable. But I think if you've done your research and you've made the decision to join that organization, that's when you become interested in joining that particular organization. And so the interest meeting is for those who have made the decision, in my opinion, that, okay, this is the organization that I want to join, so there shouldn't be a reason for you to go to another interest meeting, because at that point, that means that you haven't made a decision yet. But that's what the research is for. That's what going to all the different events are for.
Great. Now, speaking of interest meetings, is it publicized on campus, or is that something that you learn from having a relationship or expressing your interests to other Greeks on campus? Is it something that's private and that you learn through relationship, or is it something that's often publicized by the organization?
Well, from my experience, it is publicized. It was publicized on campus. I won't say that it was done discreetly. Was it publicized? Yes. You didn't have to have a specific relationship with a member to know that, maybe they might put a bug in your ear or something like that. But it is publicized, but it's done in a discreet way.
Wonderful. Do save your coins. These organizations are not cheap. Jocelyn, that one came from you, so I'll let you elaborate.
That's still based off of experience because Delta is still expensive. It's a great organization, but one thing that I learned when I went to my interest meeting was Delta was not a cheap girls club. And I learned that very quickly because all the things that you will have to buy if you are selected, certain outfits, you have to attend certain meetings, certain conferences, that all adds up. The travel to get there, the food that you have to eat. So, just keep in mind that, if you are serious about it, then you should make an investment, whether it be finding a job, finding a sponsor, or just saving what you have made throughout, high school and whatnot, or in your college job to put towards it. Because after you, if you are selected and you are chosen, after you do come out, you'll want to meet people, you'll want to road trip, you'll want to, get out and attend those AGPs and those, kickbacks with meeting different D9 orgs. So that costs.
That's
so
good.
Keep that in mind.
And I would like to add that also expands into grad chapter.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't stop at undergrad. If you join an organization, the goal should be to remain interested and remain invested in the organization. When you get to the grad chapters, it's more expensive than it is undergrad, and it's constant. You have conferences that you have to go to. There are different events that you have to host. You have to pay, whatever is due to the organization, and so it's a lot of your money that you have to invest in it. So when people that are interested are told that it's not inexpensive, it is true. I think it goes for all the organizations, because it just doesn't stop at the undergrad level.
Don't be a t-shirt wearer. If you are looking to join a D9 organization, you will need to have put in a lot of work. Jocelyn, do you want to elaborate on that one, or is it okay if I move?
Sure, you can.
Okay. All right. Do maintain your high GPA. Oh, you wanted to say
Oh, no,
something?
I thought you were saying you wanted to ask anybody else. Since I was, but
Oh, no.
hey.
Did anyone want to say anything about that?
I think it's self-explanatory, and I will say it again. It doesn't just go for Greek organizations, because you're going to be a part of a team. You have to put in the work, and that's one of the main things that members that are already part of organizations, they express to people that are interested. This is not just about wearing the colors and the letters. We expect you to put in some work. And obviously you will expect to gain something from being a part of the organization, but it's not just about, wearing the t-shirts and the colors and just showing your face. You have to use your talent, and you also have to use your time.
Do maintain your high GPA. I think that one is self-explanatory. Don't let the letters go to your head. You should be who you are before and after receiving your letters. I think that's one I've heard personally a lot of the time. Do you all want to share on that? Just a little what that looks like, or things you should not do just because you are now Greek.
I just want to say that often we're often going to be told, you shouldn't be such and such the Delta or such and such the AKA, but that's automatically, honestly, going to happen. People are going to associate you with that Greek word. So with that in mind, you should always be true to yourself, because who I was before I became Greek is the same person I am afterwards. Honestly, everybody's going to have that time. And from what I've always seen, from my opinion, where you just come out, you're super close with your line sisters or super close with your line brothers. It might seem a little annoying to some people, but, that's your time. In my honest opinion, I think that first year of being a Neo is your time to kind of be extra, but in a sense of making sure that your grades are still on point, you're still doing work, and you're not disrespecting anybody in the process of enjoying the time that you get to be finally who you want to be. But with that in mind, I say don't let the letters go to your head, because at the end of the day, you're still going to be you. Take the letters or not, this all that's going to be left is who you are as a person.
Next on the list, we have don't forget to network. Next up, we have don't catch amnesia. After you get your letters, don't go through all the necessary requirements to join an organization, then forget to expound upon the core values of the organization. Lastly, don't forget to remember that you are not the end-all, be-all of an organization, but a part of a brotherhood or sisterhood. Selflessness over selfishness. Closing us out with the do's and don'ts, do you all want to expound on that one?
Well, I think remember that you're not the end all be all of the organization. Obviously not. People were there before you joined, and so you're just becoming a part of something, and you're joining to add value to the organization. And so you have to come in knowing and understanding that it's not about you. And besides the day you come out and, you get all the applause and the support and the congratulations, You're joining the organization. The main thing is you adding value to the organization and gaining something from the organization as well. But you're going to have to deal with people from different backgrounds, different walks of life. And so I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You can't expect for things to go just your way because you are now a member of an organization.
Edward, was there something else you wanted to say?
I will talk about this amnesia because the amnesia is real sometimes. Before or during the membership process, you can hear a lot of potential members talking about how they want to change the world. If they had these letters, how I will reach into the community, how I plan to touch the lives of people. Then they cross. They roll out of bed and they bump their head and they get amnesia and forget about the foundation of joining an organization, which is for Alpha's manly deed, scholarship, and love for all mankind, not strolling, not parling, or lituation. And some people can forget about that foundation because they're enjoying themselves so much. That's what they see themselves getting the most out of the organization. They forget. And it's very, very important not to forget because that is your credibility in the organization. Not how good you can stroll or the best party that you throw, but the service that you give to humanity, because that's what we were founded on.
That's good. That's good. Now, I always hear people talk about the difference between grad and undergrad. Can someone tell us about the transition between undergrad and grad life as a Greek?
I actually transitioned from undergrad to grad chapter, and I will say that it's another level when you get into grad chapter. When you're an undergrad member, yes, you do make sure that you participate in all the programs based on the organization, but it's done on a smaller scale. When you get into the grad chapter now, your talents are really required. If you are a professional, whatever it is that you do on your job, you should be able to use that in your organization to make it better. It's going to require more time. It's going to require more sacrifices, whether it's financial, whether it's your time. It's going to require for you to use your skills. And at the undergrad level, you do the same thing, but it's not on the same scale as when you get into the grad chapter. There are definitely deadlines that you have to meet, things that you have to check off on your list. When you're undergrad, you have the grad chapters that you can partner with and that are there to support you. But people need to understand that when you join at the undergrad level, it's not that it's not serious. But when you get to grad, when you join the grad chapter, it becomes more is required from you than there was at the undergrad level.
Now, there are a lot of parents who are unfamiliar with Greek life that might have a student who is pledging or interested in pledging or going through the membership process. What advice would you share with parents that are listening that have students that are interested in becoming members of organizations? Because I think some parents are concerned, or they don't know what to expect, or they don't know, what it requires.
Well, I was raised in a different culture, and so when I first got to the U.S., I didn't know much about Greek life, and so my parents didn't either. And so what I would advise parents to do is to do the research as well. Just as if your child shows interest in being part of a Greek lettered organization, I think it's important for them to do the research as well as the child. They need to show interest as well and be curious, because there are a lot of things that happen that because a child wants to join, they might be oblivious to certain things. They might not have the maturity to understand certain things. And as a parent, you might be able to talk some sense into them and make them understand things. And the last thing I want to say parents want to do is show support, because it might not be something that you as a parent has done, but if you feel like it's a good thing and it's not something that it's not going to be beneficial to your child, I think it's really important for parents to show support.
Edward, did you want to say something? I saw you.
Yeah, I would say, first off, I came from a household that didn't have any Greeks. I'm actually the first to join a fraternity. My mom didn't know what Alpha Phi Alpha was from a can of paint. And I would say, being in this position to give advice, I would tell a parent who doesn't know about Greek life, don't base their opinion based off of the negative stigma of Greek life. Because when I first started talking to my mom about Greek life and me moving forward in the process, she was like, people getting beat and dying in this case and that trial. So it's our responsibility as the person pursuing to have that conversation if you know that they really don't know. And for the parent, like Jennifer said, do their research to put them at ease.
Great. Josh, did you want to say anything, or we?
Yeah, there are a number of resources available besides the internet. When I first started, I was on Wikipedia, but what I came to realize was there were a number of books that were written, not only just about D9, but specific orgs. So if you want to share that with your parents, feel free to, because I think that once they see that there's a lot of history and a lot of like Black excellence that go on with these orgs, and they'll want you to be a part of it just as much as you do.
And something that would help, if your parent knows of any Greek, something that helped me, my mom had a coworker that was Greek.
Right.
I was talking to her all day about what Greek was. She didn't want to hear it. She was like, because this is what I saw, this is what I heard. But it took a conversation with her coworker, who was Greek. He was Omega. Mm-hmm. And that just put her at all the ease in the world to know that, this is something for real. It's solid foundation. It's unity.
Final two questions. The first one being, what has your sorority or fraternity given to you since being a member? How has it developed you or enhanced who you are as a man or woman, or helped you in your career, or just overall? I'll go around.
With Delta, I feel like it's made me into a more patient person. Just trying to figure out the time management of not only, being interested in the organization, going through the process of becoming a member, juggling school, juggling internships. I've had to learn that, everything won't come when I want it, but it would always be on time. And that's just exactly what Delta was. Just besides that attribute of patience, I think I've received some great women in my life. My line sisters are phenomenal people. And just the culture and the experience of it. I often, because I went to a PWI, so I think that's a whole nother type of broadcast. I think it's pretty interesting to even think about, the differences between pledging at a PWI versus HBCU, but there's so many commonalities also. So I think that kind of helped expose me to what it's like, just being deep down inside of an organization that was built upon, phenomenal women who are trailblazing and who want you to follow in the same footsteps. So everything I do, it's always kind of tying back to the foundation of what I learned while I was online or what I learned after I got offline. So that whole time, I think it's just made me into a better person.
Jennifer?
Well, I'd say what the experience has brought to me is the ability to sharpen, my skills, whether it's leadership skills or communication skills, time management, dealing with people from different backgrounds. Overall, that's what I've gained from being a part of that organization. But I've also gained, some sisters, the opportunity to network and expand my network. It might seem, minimal, but it's really nice to know that if you're visiting a different state or a different country, there is somebody that's there that because they're a part of your sorority. And they don't have to be a part of your chapter, a part of your sorority. Oh, I know this person who lives there. You might be. That actually happened to me once. I had an interview somewhere, and I didn't have a place to stay. And because somebody knew another person from the organization, I was able to, make arrangements for lodging. So it might seem like it's not anything important, but it is when you're able, when you know that, you know, you could go anywhere and know that there's somebody out there that you can, that can help you out with anything. And so it has allowed me to develop relationships too with other people, and networking. It's important. A lot of times people have told us, when we were interested, it's important to network because you might not, you know, become a member, whether it's undergrad or grad, but just being able to know somebody, you know, it can open doors for you.
And Mr. Tucker.
All right, well, I can definitely reiterate everything that Jennifer and Josh said, because that is what Alpha Phi Alpha, you know, has done for me as a member. But one of the most important things that I would say that Alpha did for me, it lit a fire in me to want to touch the lives of other people, because I was raised as an only child. And during the membership process, when I got my line brothers and I'm spending all the time around these people, I never realized how much I could care about the well-being of other people. And even after I graduated and went on, that's something that stuck with me. As far as youth or people who's interested in Alpha or just a student on campus, is a burning to want to see them succeed and get the best out of life that they could.
That's awesome. Now, last but not least, starting with Edward and working our way back around the table in 30 seconds or less. If you could talk to yourself pre-Greek membership, what is the one thing you would have said to yourself?
Get your senior paper done as soon as possible. I did my senior paper, my senior thesis, while the semester that I was going through the membership process, and it was terrible. I was so stressed out, on stress on top of stress. So if I could go back and minimize some of that stress of my senior year, I would have did my senior paper. That's out of the box, but that's real life.
That's good. Jennifer?
I would say to myself, it's quite hard because I don't know. I think what I would say to myself is keep trying, or don't give up, because there were a lot of things that had transpired before I was able to be a member of the organization. So that's what I would tell myself. Don't give up. It's gonna be okay.
All right. And Jocelyn?
I would say two things. One, you should have taken that study abroad trip. Delta will always be there, and the study abroad was an opportunity of a lifetime. But that's okay, because I'm going to do it again. And the second thing I would say is what I would have told myself was, trouble don't last always. You know, like, just speaking off of my testimony, I had a very stressful senior year because I didn't do well with time management at the time. I was bringing out a line, and that's a whole nother conversation too. Becoming a pro fight. And, you know, we had all this stuff going on, so I just felt like my life was just crumbling down because it was so much. But just knowing that you were chosen for a reason because they saw something in you, so you just have to remember what it is and to continue on, and knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
Well, can I make one more point before we end?
Please
Because
go
Jennifer
ahead, Mr. Tucker.
Jennifer made a point that hit me about not giving up.
Oh.
And on the undergraduate level, I'm just going to be honest. Sometimes Greekdom can be very messy. And I would say, do not let a member, and that goes back to I submitted you are not the end all be all of an organization. Don't let any member of an organization kind of set in stone your fate with an organization. They're just a member. Hopefully they're active and financial. So it's just pursuing your goals and dreams. Don't let anyone hinder you from that.
That's good.
Right.
That's good. Well, thank you guys so much for coming
Thanks
into
for
the
having
studio
us.
today
Thank you,
and
ladies.
answering some of our questions and sharing the do's and don'ts of Greek life. And hopefully this has helped somebody that didn't know where to start. I am your host, Fran Reed Barnes, and you are listening to the Wildcat Newsfeed, also known as #BCU Talk Tuesday. And we will see you next week.